Building up size and building up the hypertrophy is crucial. Guys that bench press 500 pounds are usually jacked like myself. You're going to have to acquire a certain amount of size in order to go along with your strength. The two can complement each other really well. So make sure that after you're doing your main movements, your powerlifting style movements, make sure you're also mixing in at least a little bit of bodybuilding type of stuff. You don't have to take it quite as far as the bodybuilders. You don't need to get posing trunks and tanning oil and a fanny pack. But you do want to incorporate some of their methods because they're highly effective. Also, bodybuilders are extremely strong. A lot of people want to try to discredit or discount some of the things that they do, but a lot of times a bodybuilder will superset, you know, incline benches and dips back and forth, and then lo and behold, when they go to do a max effort bench press, they go to do a heavy single, they're able to handle, you know, 500 pounds or something like that, and they had no idea that they had that type of strength potential. So size is definitely going to be a huge factor. You want to try to make yourself bigger within reason and within whatever the confines of your particular weight class is. One huge note on powerlifting in general and learning how to powerlift and learning how to do the power lifts correctly, whether it's a squat or a bench press or even a deadlift. We see a lot of people, Mike and I, examining other lifters in here that come through here, examining other people on the YouTubes. We see a lot of people yanking on the barbell when they deadlift. And sometimes these guys are great athletes and they'll deadlift like 700, sometimes even more. Squats, same thing. We'll see some guys, they do these aggressive squats, they dive bomb into their squat, their knees shoot in, they look like they're gonna dive, they still make the squat, everyone's impressed, and they do a 650 raw squat, 700 pound raw squat. Sometimes we see the same thing in a bench press, where the guy will drop the weight on their rib cage as hard as they possibly can, then they'll throw the weight back and they'll just throw everything they have into it, and it looks like their face is gonna explode. But they do make the lift and they bench press, you know, 500 pounds or so. Well, congratulations. Good job. You're doing a great job at getting yourself hurt and tallying up a very good medical bill. Those people usually don't survive, and I know a couple of you interwebbers are going to be like, what about this guy and what about that guy? There's always going to be a freak out there. There's always going to be an anomaly out there. Lift it perfectly or lift it whatever way you can is a saying I got from a friend of mine, Max Aida. And it really holds true. You want to learn how to do the movements perfectly. You want to really learn your craft and learn your trade. However, when it comes to lifting the most amount of weight and you're in a competition and you're fired up and you're excited, then occasionally you're just going to have to lose it and go big and go for that lift and do it whatever way that you can. However, 90%, if not more like 95% of your training should be comprised of lifting smoothly and not doing any herky-jerky movements to make your lifts. So if you're a dive bomb squatter, what I'm saying is you should never really be dive bombing in your training. Your squats should be much smoother. You should be incorporating pause squats, tempo squats. You should be going down in the squat a little bit slower, controlling the weights a little bit more. Something that Chad Wesley Smith does a great job of. He's got one of the highest totals in the country right now. He does a great job of lifting a lot less in the gym than he does in the actual meet. He goes to the meet and he crushes people. And people are shocked and surprised by it, but he knows that if he squats 830 or 840 for a good clean double with a good rhythm, that he can go to the meet, get fired up, and dive bomb it and drop it in there whatever way he needs to get that huge squat that he needs to do really well. Same thing on the bench press. If you're a person who's heaving your bench presses, just stop doing that for a while. You can always go back to that method. If you need that method in the contest to hit a PR, then do whatever you got to do. But in your training, the goal should always be to make the lift a little bit harder, and it should also be to work towards making yourself a better lifter, having better control of the lift, having better form, and perfecting your craft over a period of time. Let's see, in closing, we got our boy Silent Mike here, who's been doing awesome here at Super Training Gym. He's lost about 20 pounds. He was kind of skinny-ish fat when he came through the doors. And he's somebody that has really paid attention to what's going on in here. And not only that, he's somebody who's done some of his own research. going on Pornhub, going on YouTube and going on various websites and reading and learning from other lifters and other coaches. You talk about that a little bit, talk about some of your lifts when you first came in and now what you're doing?
Yeah, when I first came, my lifts were probably an ugly 500-pound squat, ugly 315 bench, and maybe a 525 deadlift. And currently I don't really know what they are, but my last competition they were 573, 350, and 630.
633.
633.6. And coming into super training, I learned a lot about the conjugate method from Mark, which as soon as I knew that's how Mark trained, and his mentor was Louis Simmons, I grabbed every single book I could find that Louis Simmons wrote, and I read it.
Educate yourselves out there, kids.
Yeah, that was before.
Don't go to school though, that's too much.
Yeah, books maybe, videos better, flashcards even better. Coloring books the best. So I bought every Louis Simmons book, read everything from front to back, and then just started training under Mark, because even though Louis Simmons is the creator of Westside or Conjugate, Conjugate is made so each lifter can transform it for themselves and find your weaknesses and however you want. Just because it's conjugate doesn't mean you have to box squat. Just because it's conjugate doesn't mean you have to have 300 pounds of chain. You can do bands, you can do straight weight, you can do front squats, it doesn't really matter. So I pretty much combined that with more of a higher frequency, high volume training, a la maybe even Chad Wesley Smith. I read a lot of his articles at Juggernaut.
He's pretty smart.
He's a smart dude, he's a young dude, he's a strong guy.
Looks old.
He does look old, but he is strong and young. So I read a lot of his stuff and then try to combine everything I learned from everybody.
Strength is never a weakness, and that is it from supertraining.tv.